You had said earlier that there's three of you that are the creative force in the band, and you've got songwriting credits that do have revenue that's attached to those songwriting credits. How do you guys navigate that side of things, the publishing side and the work that goes into being creative? And do you allow those who aren't putting that work in to enjoy the benefits of it?
Yeah, so aside from our last record, Erase Me, every record that we've ever written has been like $1 on tour. We're all here, we were all in the studio. If XYZ dude didn't write any songs and just played along, or didn't even play at all, but he was there, it was equally split. Again, I don't necessarily recommend that, but for me, being in a band with friends, like Mallory said, now we have something to agree or disagree about, and now we need an agreement. By the time we got there, we were so happy that we all got there that we're all like, why would I want to start bringing lawyers in to tell my friend, like, I happen to be more skilled than you, or I happen to be a vocalist, and then, and when you start carving those things out after a precedent has been set of we're one family, what you run the risk of is people not caring about the art. And I think Underoath has had the longevity we have because we've always put music first. But if someone says, unless you write it, you don't eat it, then all of a sudden I'm like, well, then I want to start singing then. I want my lyrics on there because that counts towards publishing, and I want to get my cut, and it's mine and it's yours. And no, what about this? But I told you to change it, so I want a cut of that. Like, it gets so convoluted, in my personal opinion, that it's not even worth it when the record is just a selfish endeavor of trying to shove your shitty riffs and ideas on a record so that you can take a cut. What's better is having a great record that sells 500,000 copies and going, yeah, man's over here kind of balled out and he didn't do a lot of work. But like, extrapolate that over 20 years. And it's like, I wouldn't have anything that I have if we ran our business like a business in that moment in 2003, 2004, personally.
Right. And I think if you really dive into that, the issue, I've had very similar situations as Tim, where all my bands, for the vast majority, there were 5 pieces, so it's easier math for all of us, but 20% across the board for every member. And you get to LP 6 and 7, it's just like, fuck, man, like, I'm home, I'm writing these songs day in and day out and day in, and this guy doesn't. It's not like he's an asshole, he's just not writing the record. But is it worth going from 2020 to 20 25 35? That 15% that goes from bassist to singer, bassist to guitarist, whatever, is changing no one's life. I promise. No matter everyone thinks about publishing, there aren't going to be any, $1
million deals flying around. Yeah.
Songs in a fucking Nissan commercial. So it's just like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And if you ever lose that member and have to reteach songs and reroute, deal with the leaving member agreement if they have one, whatever, it's just not worth it in the end. Most of the time. Obviously, it's hard to speak in absolutes, but especially in the underground world that most of us live in with hardcore metal bands, it's like 20% of something versus 30%. It's just not worth ruffling the feather and then having that potentially slow but definite burn start that could blow up something that does matter and build up spite that the guy just says, well, I don't want to do this tour or this one-off or whatever it is. That's like the less fun thing for that person at that time. It's so hard to deal with 5 artists in a general scenario as is, to start it with like whether it's unintentional or not, but archaic way that the businesses ran of like percentages and all that. You're essentially telling them, I'm worth more than you in this business, which is fucking true probably, but it just creates a very tough scenario when you're all living in a tin can, 6-7 months a year. It's hard to have that not build up into spite.
Well, Biggie, yeah. I would imagine like with
Go ahead, Brian.
Real
quick. I may have to pop off for a phone call, but hopefully we'll be quick. I'll pop back on. So sorry about that. I know it sounds terrible.
A real busy guy, Brian Slagle.
Today's like the busiest day. Normally it hasn't been that bad.
I know, it's like everyone took Monday
3-day weekends. Yeah.
I gotta do all the work.
Biggie, real quick, with the heavy music genres, while no one's expecting a big hit song on the radio to make an impact financially in people's lives, but there's a lot of money to be had in instrument sponsorships and the different sounds and stuff that you can sell online. And now you've got a drummer who's got a revenue stream, a guitarist who's got a revenue stream, maybe a bassist with the revenue stream. The vocalist has got to be left out of that, right? And that actually is significant. So is there an argument to be made in sharing those revenues as well?
Yeah, I mean, of course there's an argument. It all depends on each band. Like, if that's a real revenue stream, talk about it. If it's $1,000 a year, I mean, do you think singer dude needs $200? If so, get a different, wrong business. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, it's probably incremental in the grand scheme of things. And if you're a cool band, like, take care of the singer another way. If when it does every once in a while, when you'll watch, if a band does split everything up into fifths and everybody gets new road cases, that's expensive. And the singer's like, I guess I'll get a new shorter 58 mic. That's sick. It's a give and take. Maybe that's the singer doesn't have to load in. You know what I mean? But I think when you start really breaking it down that small, you're losing sight of the big picture. The big picture should not be the tone thing that you did. And if they did that, if guitarists did one of these cool new programs out there, it's work. They have to do stuff to do it, and understand you might be borrowing assets. But at that point, I feel like a band like Underoath would be able to negotiate something where it's like, hey, I'm doing this thing. Everybody cool with this? Similarly to if someone's an artist, if someone Underoath's an artist, it would be weird to tell them well, stay away from all Underoath art. Don't use my lyrics in any of your art because whatever. It's
yeah. Let me ask a real quick question regarding that, because what's happening now is you're seeing a lot of, especially during the pandemic, you're seeing a lot of individual artists, guys in bands going on, for example, Twitch. And, we've got a couple guys going on there and some guys making some serious money on that. Yeah. So as a manager and a guy in a band, let's say guitar player A goes on Twitch and he's making 10, 15 grand a month on that. And clearly he's doing whatever he's doing, and that's related to the band. How does that work? How do you guys feel on your end about where that money should go?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, we're actually doing that right now. I mean, Jordan from Every Time I Die, one of Biggie's bands, was on Underoath's Twitch channel. We do a Twitch every Wednesday night.
Let me know where I can collect the payment on that.
Yeah. So the only reason why people came is because Biggie's band. So he's going to get 5% revenue of the $38 he made. No, but we're breaking down the record, right? And at first it was I have this idea of I want to go in the studio with Josh Scoggin and write a one-day song and it'd be fun. And it's should that be on my personal channel or my personal Facebook Live or Instagram Live, or should we try to funnel that to the band? And I think there's two arguments, right? Aaron, our drummer, has a web shop that's only his. All the money goes to him. And it's it doesn't say this, but in reality, it's have Aaron from Underoath play on your record for X amount of hundreds of dollars. And if 1,000 bands go, dude, play on my song, there's an argument to say the only reason why those people want you on their song is because you play with us and you're in our band, and our band actually made that money, not you. The other side is going down to Biggie's thing. Is that what we're going to talk about? We have all this history, and now we're mad about your drum lessons or the work you do sidebar with the status you have because of who we are as a unit. I don't think that's relevant. And I feel there's singers doing Cameo, and if the bass player goes to do Cameo, guess what? Nobody's going to buy it. But the only reason why the singer's big is because the bass player and the drummer locked in and wrote the record. So now they have publishing more, and this guy has Cameo, or is it all split? Every situation is so unique. I mean, for Underoath specifically, a lot of our dudes have side stuff that is only because of being in Underoath. And honestly, all of us do. And so to penalize people's next opportunities because of the stepping stone that was built by all six of us, at that point, we're saying, I want a piece of everything you do. Because Aaron only got in Paramore when he quit Underoath because of Underoath. So I want his Paramore money now, right? That cycle can go on forever. And it's at a certain point, you just have to go, what do we want to do? And even talking to Grant, our bass player, who's actually the head of our Twitch stuff, he's the only one that's actually actively pursuing Twitch, and we just show up because we don't know anything about it. And at a certain point, we're if the thing doesn't actually do what we want it to do, how do we just allow you to have that because that's your passion, you know? And like, you know, Underoath will post about King State, my coffee and beer bar in Tampa. And like, we all help each other, and we all are aware that we're using our platform sometimes for personal side shoots. But as long as we're all communicating about it and someone doesn't wake up with me, you know, Tim's taking over Underoath's Instagram Live and I'm just pumping my personal web store and my personal this and selling guitar lessons like directly and pocketing all the money, like that's when shady stuff happens. But like, I think as long as everyone's up front and everyone's aware and everyone respects what everyone's doing, like it's the band's decision to get behind it or just allow it to happen in the background or respectfully have a conversation about modifying or stopping it if it's way too infringement, you know? And so it's like, I'm with you.
My suggestion has always been to just take a vig off the top and kick it back into the band as a whole. It's sometimes fallen on deaf ears and sometimes it's welcomed. But that has always appeared to me to be like the really easy solution. And that way nobody,
I think that's fully fair.
Yeah. And I think you guys are such a unique case, and I love that you're willing to share all the stuff that you're sharing, Tim, but and I'm glad it works for you guys. And I think one of the reasons, again, so much of this does go back to money. You guys are all eating a full pizza every night. I mean, not literally, but when you've got bands fighting over a piece of pizza, this argument becomes much more challenging when all of a sudden one guitar player is eating his own pizza or the singer's the only guy that's starving. Because I've been in those situations. But so I figure you kick a little bit back in, and that sometimes
I do find that the bigger the band is, the less issues they have like that. It's generally the smaller bands are the ones that fight over all this little stuff that makes no sense, and the bigger bands just like, yeah, whatever, it's all good.